Okay, so
5 pounds.
No, I actually like what?
so a lot of people still have a question about quadratic inequality.
So, Mister, are we reviewing today, or are we
Ow!
want to
You
review?
do it there, Brandon.
Yeah, leave.
Why are
Okay,
you
so some people still have struggling with the number line test.
Oh, you're
So we're
lying.
gonna pick questions. So we're gonna pick a homework questions here. So it'll be three. We're gonna pick 3x squared minus 5x greater than 2. And this was the questions that some of you guys homework struggle with. So what's my first step?
Subtract 2.
Subtract 2, okay, so that's 3x squared minus 5x greater than up. It's gonna be minus 2 is less than 0, right?
Yeah.
So then you're gonna say, okay, well, what happened here? We're gonna factor this. So I'm gonna factor, so it'll be 3x squared minus 2 minus 5x, 3x and x, and then what?
Negative 2 and 1.
Negative 2 and 1, good, so that's gonna give you negative 6x and the x here. So that's gonna be 3x minus 1, plus 1, and x minus 2, and it's greater than 0. So again, this is the one we always gonna come back to when we quadratic inequality. Now we're gonna pretend, this is equal to 0 to find endpoints, because we need to know which endpoint should we test, which region we should test. So we're gonna say 3x plus 1 is equal to 0, x equal to negative 1 over 3, and x minus 2 equal to 0, so x is equal to 2. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna construct a number line. Number line is not a solution, but it's something to help you. Now the way I construct my number line is a little bit different from other teachers, but I wanna be more, show you a little bit more, so we're gonna do this. So at 2, and there's a negative infinity, and there's infinity. Okay, so you say, okay, now what we should do, we should list the factor here. So it'll be 3x plus 1, and then x minus 2. So far, any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, which number between negative infinity to negative 1 over 3, Jeffrey, which number would you pick from negative infinity to negative 1 over 3? What's a good number to test here? There's a lot of answers.
Yeah, give him 2.
No, I'm asking Jeffrey.
Okay.
Pick a number.
Negative 1 over 4.
Why would you make it hard?
I don't know.
Okay, so, I mean, you can do that, or you can deal with an easier number, which is you can pick it a little bit more negative. We just pick it like, say, negative 10.
Alright.
That's what we'll do. Negative 10 is negative infinity to negative 1 over 3, right? So what's negative 10 plug in here?
Negative 29.
So negative 29, so that is negative or positive?
Negative.
Negative. I don't really care about negative 29, I only care about negative sign. Now I'm gonna plug in negative 10 in here, that's gonna give you negative 12. That's still gonna give me negative. Any questions here? Yes, Michael?
Shouldn't the sign for the actual number part be the greater than 0?
It is greater than 0.
No, for the final part, because you switch it to equals.
Yeah, this
So we're
is to help
pretending.
you find endpoints. It wasn't help you to find a solve a problem. It was to find an endpoint label on the number line. Okay, so now what you do is negative times negative is positive, right?
Yeah.
Plug in negative 1 over there to 2. What's a good number to plug in?
1.
1, okay, so that's gonna give you positive, and then negative, so that's gonna give you negative, right? And then you're gonna plug in, that's above 2, let's say pick 5. 5 is gonna give you positive. 5 minus 2 is positive, so it's positive. So therefore, there's a positive region, there's a negative region. If I were to graph this function, if I were to graph here, it's gonna, graph on the decimals.
Hold up.
Do we need to make that graph or
No, I don't. Well, I just show you what happened.
Oh my god.
It's gonna be 2, here's me negative 1 over 3rd. Here's gonna be a negative region, and here, which is below x-axis, and this is above. So if you graph, you can tell from the graphing also. But they say they wanna look for greater than 0. Greater than 0 means they're looking for which region? Positive region or negative region?
Positive.
Positive region, so they're looking at this region. So this region check, this region check. So the answer is going to be negative infinity to 1 over 3, and then from 2 to infinity.
Oh.
And that's it. But if I change your question to less than 0, then you will pick the negative region, which is negative 1 over 3 to 2.
Okay, I think I
Mister, how is that really positive?
Which region?
The one negative infinity.
Here? So
Yeah.
this one's negative times negative is equal to
Oh,
positive.
alright.
Yeah, but like, how do you get negative in the first place? That's all.
I plug in because I pick a number from negative infinity to negative 1 over 3. I'll pick negative 5 or negative 10, and I plug in negative 10 into here. Negative 10 times 3 is negative 30, plus 1 is negative. And if negative 10 minus 2 is going to be negative 11, it's negative. And negative times negative is equal to positive. Questions here?
So you just pick any
Give
number
me another one
between
so I
that
can try.
and negative infinity.
Ken?
Why do we need the regions?
Why do we need 3 regions? Because see this region, this part, the graph is above x-axis. So this part is a greater than 0. This part is a greater than 0, and this part is below 0. Because if you have 2 endpoints, it's going to create 3 regions. And you have to test all 3 regions. Because at this part, it's going to give you a 0. It doesn't give you a positive or negative, but it's going to give you a 0. So therefore, you want to test from here to here, and from here to here, and from here to here. So there are 3 regions because you find 2 endpoints. If you find 3 endpoints, then you've got 4 regions. We're going to talk about that too. Yes?
If it was less than 0, what would the answer be using that same number?
If less than 0, then the answer would be negative 1 over 3 to 2 because negative is less than 0.
So there'd only be one answer.
It will be 1 region. 1 to 1 region.
Can you give us another one to do?
Yeah. So, you can do the next one, which is the 5x squared plus 14x. And, what is it? Lesson 3?
Where's your binder?
Wait, does it change if it's equal to, less than or equal to?
Yes, so that's a good question. So at this case, it's not including 1 over 3, right? It's not including 2 because you plug in here, it's not, if you plug in 1 over 3 here, it's going to give you a 0. So 0 is not greater than 0. But this one is slightly changed because you can have less equal to. So whatever the endpoint is going to include it. And we're going to talk about more interesting parts later on with other questions as well.
Mister,
Mm-hmm.
when you plug in, like, say you to plug in negative for the first time, once you get positive,
It's on the video. What?
once you get positive, so I plugged in negative 4 to negative 2, and to multiply that, you get positive 8.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll come check.
So like, how you just explain to me?
Negative 4 subtract 2 is going to give you negative 6.
You don't, oh, okay, that's fine, okay.
So those are compound inequality here, and we have this variation of that.
Is zero technically a positive number? Is
So-
zero technically a positive number?
Huh?
He doesn't.
It's not negative either.
I didn't do that one.
Example.
X minus 2 times x minus 4. I didn't do
Oh,
that
we're gonna talk about that one, but we're gonna talk about first two first. Did you guys get an answer?
Give me a second. Wait. Are those two different?
Wait, which one?
Number 6.
I just have a question for number the answer. Okay.
Oh, for number 6.
Is
Alright.
Number 6, you're in.
I'm
You
doing
see,
it.
what number is that first one?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's less than 0, right? So can it be both of these?
If it's less than 0, is it the region from here to here, is it less, it's just negative.
The region.
This is negative here, so it's not that, this is a positive region, so you're
If I
not.
don't look at the numbers, I just look at
You look at
positive,
it,
negative?
yes, you look at the sign of the result.
Okay, then what's the difference between equal? If it's equal to?
So that means you can equal to -3, because you plug in -3, if you plug in 3 here, 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 multiplied by anything is equal to 0, so you can less equal to.
So I just write 1/5 to negative 1/5.
Yes, sir. That's a different problem from.
Oh, I see what you mean now.
Oh,
Oh! That was a good
Missed
one.
it.
he woke up before I threw it.
What
Oh
happened?
shoot, there's a digital proof. I had to cut it off. Well, that's not digital proof of the student,
That'll be
but
fine.
digital proof of me throwing something in code.
You're starting to get
Something
to-
I didn't
That's
hear
right,
what
that's
happened.
with the regions part.
Yeah, that's right. You like plug in numbers. Okay, yeah, that's how you got that.
I
Okay,
need
so
help with the regions.
less than 0, right?
So can somebody help out
Yeah, dude.
Jeffrey about
Less than
region
0,
part?
that means it's gonna be negative, because negatives is less than 0. So it's negative.
You got me?
1/5 to 3, yeah?
Alright.
I just copied down the same one.
It's the.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
You're
Significant,
gonna say
Got
like
it.
greater than 0, so it would be the positive region, or less than 0 would be the negative region.
Okay,
That's the
so I
answer.
got.
No, we don't have negative infinity in the one that we just did.
You wanna see what I did?
I'm saying this,
Really good.
cause I got to this part, I just wasn't sure like where to include this. Cause less than.
Huh?
The first one?
Okay, this is easy.
And then negative infinity.
Let me not be
Wait.
Okay, I'm saying.
You had to do number line test, you had to test the number. Yeah, you plug in, no, you plug in number from negative infinity to negative 1/5. Yeah, negative 10, so you plug in negative 10 here, so it'll be negative 50 plus 1, so it's gonna give you a negative in this region. Negative 50 minus 3 is gonna give you a negative, so negative times negative is equal to positive.
Right.
Yeah, but it's weird.
Finally asked some real person, like, how do you get here?
So.
I got home, I called my mom, I said pineapple.
Okay, so,
Wait, mister.
no, just go ahead, it's okay, go ahead and teach. Okay, Maren,
Yeah.
so the next thing is, I have those two questions here. Can you tell me the difference or similarity between those two questions? Okay, so now this is a more higher level question, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, but I'll try. But there's two questions here that you should observe. Are they the same or they different? If they are the same, how are they the same? If they're different, how are they different?
One is being multiplied by each other, the other one's being divided.
Okay, so that is the difference, right?
But they have the same x plus 2 x minus.
There was an x plus 2, x minus 2, same greater than sign. But what else is similar? For us, if I were to do the work, are they similar work or are they different? Betty, are you working or you're reading your?
I got you.
Put your iPad away or you should start writing on paper and pencil. I really don't like that iPad thing. I'm gonna throw the iPad out next time. Because you're
That's
doing
it?
nothing.
Wouldn't there be another part? Oh, alright. I somewhat get it now.
Okay, we'll come back after school. So now, when we look at those two questions, it turns out those two questions,
If I plug in like 1. This is fair.
Come back after school, Michael.
I'm definitely coming.
Okay, so if you have two questions here, why are they different and why are they the same? It turns out the work of those two are exactly identical because it doesn't matter. I'm looking for greater than 0 anyway. I don't look at if they're multiplying or dividing. Why? Because your work still requires the same thing. You're gonna list the factors. This is called compound. Right? You still list them right here. So you're gonna have -2 and 2.
Also, we don't have to do anything with that.
And then you still plug in the chart. And if you plug in -3, it's gonna give you negative. -3 is gonna give you negative. It's gonna give you positive. If you plug in 0, it's gonna give you negative, and then positive, and negative, and positive, positive, positive. So it's still greater than 0 because it doesn't matter if they're dividing or multiplying. So, because negative divided by negative is still positive. Negative divided by positive is still negative, regardless they're multiplying and dividing, because the sign essentially is going to work identical. So positive, positive is going to give you positive. So you say, how about the second one? Same thing. And that's exactly the same thing as the first one. And that's going to give you a negative, 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 positive, 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 negative, positive.
So it would be the positive regions is the answer?
So it'll be a positive region as the answer. But however, there are small things that you have to look for now. So this is a 2 region, right?
Yeah.
There's a 2 region like right here. So the way I'm writing 2 answers are completely different. This one you have to be careful with this one here. You say, okay, well, I know it's a negative infinity to -2. I'm going to leave the sign here. I'm going to say union and from 2 to infinity. Guys, you should be paying attention, not talking to each other. Now, there's a reason why I don't including the signs here. Now, I'm going to go observe what happened. What happened if I take the -2 into the functions here? I'm going to get -2 subtract 2 on the top, which is -4. What happened if -2 plus 2 here?
0.
0 on the denominator. Is that okay?
No.
No.
No. So should I include -2?
No.
No. Not including because it was divided by 0. So therefore, not included.
So we don't put the little thing over next to it? The parentheses next to it?
You put a parenthesis, you don't put.
Just search the thing.
You don't put bracket. Because if you bracket, that means you're including -2.
Oh, because I forgot the equal used to have a bracket.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we're gonna take a 2. It's okay to have 2. 2 minus 2 is what? 0. 0 over 4, is that okay?
No.
0 over 4 is okay because you're not divided by 0. 0 over 4 is 0. 0 is greater or equal to 0. Therefore, this part is included because you can have 0 over 4. How about this one? So same thing, negative infinity to whatever, union from whatever to infinity, and comma. So they go into -2, right? And that's going to start with 2. But do they including -2?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes, because when you multiply anything by 0, it can equal to 0.
Right. So if you're plugging -2 here, -2 plus 2 is 0. 0 times whatever is 0. 0 is greater or equal to 0. So therefore, you're including the -2 as well as the positive 2, because 2 is here. 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. 0 is greater or equal to 0.
So that's the only difference between them?
Yep, but there are small subtle difference.
Mister,
Yes.
you never include the infinities?
Right. Because you cannot reach infinity, and that's your buzz lightyear.
So annoying.
Mister, do you reach your Buzz Lightyear when you're grading our test?
No comment.
I start don't write zeros. I write infinity on this board. I write 2 zeros.
I never find 2 zeros before.
Okay, so now let's look at this one. How many endpoints are they?
3.
3. So how many regions are they?
3.
It's gonna be
4.
2. Yeah, 4 regions.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
And then there are 3 factors here.
Not that.
I write in order. There's a reason I write in order. Negative infinity to infinity. Oh, you guys gonna pick a number between negative infinity to 2. What's a good number? No, pick easier number. Again, 0. So I'm gonna finish this. So this one's gonna be negative, negative, negative. That's gonna be negative. Again, 3. It's gonna be positive, negative, negative. That's positive. Now we're gonna do one last one here. 5. 5 minus 2 is gonna be positive, positive, negative. And plug in 6. That's gonna 7 is gonna be positive, positive, positive. That's gonna give you negative, positive. So that positive region is this, 2 and 4, and then 6 to infinity. But you can including 4 and 2 because those are endpoint on the top. Endpoint on the bottom is going to be different, so it's going to be here, union, not including 6, but including going to infinity.
Sir,
And
what
that's
was
the
answer
answer
for
to
20?
20, we're going to get to
I'm
that.
gonna rewatch all your videos.
The first part's not because they say greater than 0. Greater than 0 is what? Positive. So they're not looking at anything.
Okay, move.
I'm gonna finish the last part of the video.
It's breaking it down. I need more staples.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish the last question. Okay, so now this question I'm gonna finish on the video so you can watch it.
I missed him.
I'll subtract the 2x to the other side. Now the problem is this are 2 different things. I need to make sure they are factors. So I need to make sure they have a common denominator. So it'll be, I'm gonna multiply this by x minus 2, x minus 5 over x minus 5. Because this one is 1. And then I will have x minus 5 on the bottom. This one's going to be distribute, so it'll be minus 2x squared plus 10x. So then you will have negative 2x squared plus 11x over x minus 5. And that's greater than 0. I will factor out. And I'll figure out all 3 endpoints. The 3 endpoint is going to be, here is 0, here is a 5, and here is a 11 over 2. 11 over 2 is roughly 5.5. And I'll test x. Negative 2x plus 1, and then x minus 5. If I plug in negative, that's going to give you negative, negative 1. This one, negative 1 is positive. And if I plug in negative 1 here, it's going to give you negative, so that's equal to positive. If I plug in 1, it's going to give you a positive. 1 here, and it's going to give you a negative still. 1 here, it's going to give me negative, so it's going to be positive. Now here's kind of hard to test. You're going to plug in 5.2. 5.2 is going to be plus. 5.2 here, if I plug in here, it's going to give me negative. And then 5.2 is going to be positive. So this one is negative. I plug in 6, positive, negative, and positive. Wait, something's wrong. 6, okay. And then 5.2 5.2 is positive, 5.2 is negative, 5.2 is positive. So this part is gonna be something wrong. Wait, did I mess up the sign? Negative 2, 5.5, so negative, positive, negative, positive, 2, positive, negative, negative. This one is gonna be 5.2, 5.2 or 5.3, so 5.3, positive, negative, positive, and this one's positive, 6, positive, negative, positive, okay. So the only region that's positive is including greater than 0 to 5, and probably something wrong, but 0 to 5, but not including 5, including 0.